been terrific crowds on Friday night and Saturday night, and again here on Sunday with Game 3 hanging in the balance.
And you see the rise ball that she'll throw over 50% of the time and mix in a screw and curve, so work both sides of the plate. But it's that changeup that you mentioned. She'll mix it in 8%. That's up from 3% that she used last year. Mixing in that pitch more, the scouting report is out on her. And I mean, what a way that you have to start out this game, huh? You get the best pitcher in the pack going up against the best hitter in the pack right out the gates.
Maya Brady takes a good hack. And a 1-2 count to the UCLA leadoff hitter, who has led a dynamic UCLA lineup at the very top. And really 1 through 9, this team is finally starting to click, Amanda, after a bit of an un-UCLA-like start to the season. 3 and 4 at the beginning of the year. Granted, all 4 of those losses coming to top 10 teams.
And what you saw Maya Brady do in Game 1 on Friday night against Nigeri Kennedy is just set the tone for the types of at-bats that UCLA was going to have off of her the rest of the game.
Goes down swinging. First strikeout of the day for Nigeri Kennedy. And there is one away in the first.
And she's going to get her fair share of strikeouts, Matt. Even when a team like UCLA has such a great approach against her. They had 12 strikeouts on Friday night. You just have to understand that you can still have a great approach against a pitcher like Nigeri Kennedy and have those strikeouts. But the foul balls, way that they were keeping their barrel on top of pitches is what stood out to me, taking that confidence from Game 1 into Game 3.
And now Alchin, first pitch swinging, popped over to the left side. And River Mahler is there. 2 quick outs for Nigeri Kennedy, who went the distance on Friday night. 9 innings in a battle with Taylor Tinsley of UCLA. Struck out 12, and the lone run she gave up was unearned.
Controversial, which we'll talk about later, but great game. I mean, just an epic pitcher's duel.
Cliffhanger by you,
I know.
by the way.
Tease for later. Stick around. We'll show you why. But just such a pitcher's duel on Friday night. And Taylor Tinsley, by the way, stepping up to have 15 strikeouts, the UCLA sophomore, on Friday night to get that Game 1 win.
Dazzling pitcher's duel, setting the tone for a series that all of us have had circled since the beginning of the year. Final season of the Pac-12, and as you alluded to in the open, Amanda, there's a little bit of extra pride this year because you want to go out as the final Pac-12 champion. Palacios goes down swinging, 2 strikeouts in the inning, and a 1-2-3 start for the top pitcher in the Pac-12. March 28th, but gets the ball again here to start Game 3. And it is Taryn Kern at the dish. And Kern leads it off for a lineup that has struggled in situational hitting in this series. 1 for 21 with runners in scoring position, and the Cardinal left 11 on board last night in the 9-3 loss.
Notice too, I mean, what a big get that their leadoff hitter Taryn Kern was. She sits at the top, last year's Big Ten Player of the Year and Freshman of the Year. Emily Jones back behind her is on a 14-game hit streak and has had 4 hits in this series. She stood out the most to me. She is dynamic, sitting on deck, waiting to come up to bat with her speed.
Well, this is a Stanford team offensively, Amanda, that in the 8 games leading up to the series, they were batting .350. Ran into a bit of a buzzsaw pitching-wise, of course, against Tinsley on night 1, but then rebounded for 11 hits last night. Just struggled to get him around. Kern, a leadoff walk, and the first base runner is aboard of the day for either team.
That's what she does, Taryn Kern up at the top of this order. I mean, 39 base on balls for Taryn Kern. On base percentage of over 500%. So 1 in every 2 times she's coming up as a leadoff hitter, she's getting on base.
Leads the team in on base percentage, coming over from the Big Ten a season ago. And now a runner aboard for Emily Jones. And as you just referenced, Jones on a 14th with her landing spot. Emily Jones will dig in with a 1-0 count for Stanford. And drops down a bunt, fielded at first base. The throw to second is in time by Jordan Woolery. An excellent play to get the lead runner.
Such great communication. I mean, Emily Jones's short game this weekend has just been on point, but the communication on UCLA's defense to get that force out and get Taryn Kern out at second base is just special. Charlize Palacios back behind the plate, likely communicating on this play. She has the best view because she's back behind the plate, can clearly see where Taryn Kern was. Easily got her at second.
And now the lefty Ava Gall. Gall, a freshman, playing at first base. They initially brought her in thinking that she would catch, but because of a handful of positional changes this year for Stanford, started working at first base, and with all those reps at first, didn't have enough time to develop her behind the plate, but she has embraced it in her first year of collegiate softball. High pop up, middle of the infield, and fielded by Caitlin Terry, 2 gone.
Yeah, and that's what you're going to see her do a lot of against these left-handed hitters in the Stanford lineup, is use her rise ball, try to go up and in on their hands, and then also use her curveball away from them. A lot of left-handed hitters in the Stanford lineup. Everybody but Ali Kaneshiro, who's coming up, is left-handed.
And Ali Kaneshiro has been the epitome of durability, has caught every single game at catcher since the beginning of last season. Part of that is because Ava Gall has been moved over to first base, and so Kaneshiro is really their best and only option behind home. Here's a snap throw up to first, just keeping an eye on Taryn Kern from Charlize Palacios. 2 excellent catchers. We've talked a lot about the pitching, but both staffs have been blessed with great catchers behind the plate. High pop-up, playable in center field. And Mayonio puts it away.
Mixed into the play, using her changeup 5% more. When you look at her pitch usage, she's actually using that rise ball more, but she's also using her changeup more, throwing more innings this year because Elena Vodder had transferred to South Carolina, and that changeup has been something that she has relied on to stay at the top of her game.
2 strikeouts in the top of the first for Nigeri Kennedy, taking on Megan Grant here for UCLA, who, if you're just joining us, has already won the series. Won on night 1 in 9 innings against Nigeri Kennedy, and then came back in night 2, winning 9-3, handing the Cardinal their first series loss of Pac-12 play.
Hoping that Megan Grant is okay after fouling off that rise ball into her helmet, not wearing a face mask, and I saw this live and was just a little bit worried for you see it hit off of her helmet. Whew, that's a close call.
That's why you wear the helmet.
It's a must. It's an absolute must.
Cranks the 1-2 into left center. Diving play by Emily Jones, won't get it. And Megan Grant is in safely, striding for a leadoff double.
I'll tell you what, Megan Grant has looked absolutely locked in at the plate this weekend. She has been prepared for Nigeri Kennedy in a rise ball up in the zone, being able to get her barrel up to that pitch and get on plane with it. She's had so many good swings. I mean, that pitch is up and out of the zone, protecting with 2 strikes, beautiful line drive out to the outfield. Great effort out there by Emily Jones laying out for it, but it's a double, another double for Megan Grant.
Her second of the series. First pitch swinging here by Jordan Woolery is caught in foul territory by Taryn Kern. 1 down.
Another 2-strike hit for UCLA as well, Matt, and that's something that Noticed too on Friday night that UCLA had 8 hits off of Nyjah Kennedy, and 4 of them came with 2 strikes. Now, we're talking about one of the best strikeout pitchers in the country, if not the best. So 2 strikes is usually her wheelhouse, her jam. That's where she just feels like she has you. But UCLA had such a good approach, and maybe her 2-strike locations not being as good, that half of their hits came with 2 strikes and 0-2 or 1-2 counts.
The biggest thing that UCLA head coach Kelly Inoue Perez told us coming into the series, taking on a pitcher the quality of Nyjah Kennedy, is to be aggressive. And we have seen that here in Game 3. Big rips from the Bruins in the first 2 innings.
Well, it's interesting, too, that you say that, because UCLA was both good with 2 strikes, and they were good early in the count, because 4 of their hits, half of their hits, came in 1-2 or 0-2 counts, but then the other half came in either the first or second pitch of the AB.
Taylor Stevens down in the count 0-2 and takes upstairs for ball 1.
And that's what she wants you to swing at. That is a well-placed 0-2 pitch for Nyjah Kennedy, but with UCLA's preparation coming into the weekend and ramping up the pitch speed against the machine and ramping up pitches that are up in the zone, UCLA's swings and ABs have just looked ready. But I always find it interesting because she'll go up in the zone with 2 strikes, but then, and you might not swing at it, but she's not scared to go back to it again to see if you can lay off of it a second time. Opponent's batting average with 2 strikes was .068 in the month of February, Matt, and then .069 in the month of March. But it's standing out to me, and maybe a little bit concerning. Maybe it's just the type of preparation and play in Pac-12, but it's doubled in the month of April. The batting average against her with 2 strikes. None of that changeup. Great change of speeds there by Kennedy.
Two down for Tessa Malau-Ulu, with a runner in scoring position in Megan Grant, who doubled to start the inning.
But don't you think that's interesting, like looking at Nyjah Kennedy with 2 strikes and the consistency from February to March, and then from March to April, seeing that number almost double with the amount of hits that she's given up and an opponent's batting average doubling.
You think that's just a function of being in conference play against teams that have seen you more often than maybe non-conference opponents?
Yeah, very well. Could be that. And I look to, though, the amount of innings that she's thrown this year. All of last year, she threw 135 innings. And this year, she's already thrown 131 innings.
And that certainly has something to do with the fact that her co-ace from a season ago transferring out. Vaughter heading to South Carolina before the beginning of this season. 1-2 on a 2-hopper to first, easily played by Ava Gall. And a leadoff double is unable to come around to score. Nyjah Kennedy closes the door on the Bruins.
Hutchins at Michigan.
Kira Chan, first pitch swinging, and on the first one away.
And the team got to celebrate her after that win on Friday, including the leader, Maya Brady, getting on the mic in the bus and just being like, hey guys, our coach just got win number 800. Let's celebrate.
One of the things that Kelly Inoue Perez told us, this season has been incredibly rewarding because of the injuries, the early adversity that her team had faced. Remember, they started the season, Amanda, 3-4. They lost 7 games all of last year. And folks around the country were wondering what is up with UCLA. Her team felt that pressure, but so proud of how they've responded And there's a cohesiveness with this group that she said is really special.
And she said this has been really rewarding season and that this team has improved in every area. Saw that in February they went 7-5 and used everything that they learned in February to just put their heads down and go to work in every aspect in the circle, up at the plate, on defense. And since February, 19-4, this team just continues to grow and get better, and the coaching staff and team just continues to put in the work.
2 gone in the second, and the first strikeout of the day for Caitlin Terry. Seems to me that her landing foot is landing better after the field crew was out working on that for about 5 to 10 minutes early in the first inning. Has found a little groove here, and now taking on Jade Berry with the bases clear.
And I liked how Kelly Inouye Perez talked about, too, that we're still on a mission to play our best ball. She keeps saying this phrase, the best is yet to come, the best is yet to come. And I think that you can tell with the way that this team plays inspired. They play like they're on a mission. They play almost like to prove that the team that you saw in February, I mean, they were at our Clearwater Invitational tournament or ESPN tournament, and we were like, whoa, like not used to seeing UCLA play like this, and definitely turned a lot of heads with the amount of runs that they were giving up and just how they were playing, and even had a losing record at one point, which you never see from UCLA. 3-4 their first 7 games.
Well, and remember, too, it's coming off that shocking end to last season, losing in the regional that they hosted, mind you, with all the returning talent. Megan Faremo, of course, a big part of that in the circle. The expectation to get back to the Women's College World Series, and it ends abruptly, as this inning will end abruptly.
Across Twitter and everywhere. I mean, this has been the play that maybe nobody saw because it was Pac-12 under lights and really late at night, but then the next morning, whew, it is blown up of people just not agreeing that that was obstruction. When you talk to the umpires maybe and ask them their take about why it was obstruction, it was that Ali Kaneshiro was blocking some of the leading edge of the plate. This is the leading edge. You kind of see that as inside of the field.
Fly ball to left. And Seneca Curro, first out of the inning.
And it was before she had possession of the ball. So that's the catch, no pun intended, Matt, is that you can't block the leading edge until you have possession of the ball. So the umpires felt like there was sufficient enough evidence to be overturned because in this position right here that Kaneshiro was blocking some of the leading edge before she has possession of the ball. So it should be you catch the ball and then block and tag, not block and then catch and tag.
And the one caveat to all of it, which has been, in my opinion, the crux, Amanda, of the argument against that call, is that the ball led Kaneshiro up the line.
Yeah, that's definitely one thing, is that maybe it was an errant throw that took her into the leading edge. And I want to be clear, I'm just kind of telling you what the umpires have said. I did not think that that should be obstruction, and I definitely didn't think that it should have gotten overturned. I didn't think that there was indisputable video evidence to overturn that play, enough evidence to overturn the call on the field.
Well, Jessica Allister didn't agree with the call either. She actually got tossed arguing the overturn, and it was just the second time that she's ever been thrown out of a game as a head coach, because as she told us pregame, I don't like to insert myself into the game unnecessarily. But she felt like it was warranted on Friday night, and certainly created a lot of buzz, not just at the ballpark in front of a sold-out crowd, but as you mentioned, the new town hall, Twitter, X, I guess now is what you call it.
You use the correct name for it and still use the old school name. And, you know, it's just one of those things because it's a top 10 matchup and a lot of eyes are on this game, and it was a pitcher's duel, and I think that that's kind of the bummer when you look back at game one, is that you kind of think back to that play and not the fact that Taylor Tinsley may have thrown the best game of her career with 15 strikeouts, and that Nyjah had 12 strikeouts in that game. It was just a pitcher's duel for the ages.
And they both went the distance, which to me, watching that game unfold, was one of the most impressive aspects.
Actually, just to add another thing here is that Janelle Maonio is going to be called out of the box. So with 2 strikes, she made contact and her foot was out of the box. So it's going to be an out for Nyjah Kennedy and the Stanford defense. As a slapper, she crosses with her left foot. It is clearly a full foot out of the box.
That is the first time I have seen that all year. Saw it a lot last year and the year before. But for me personally, Amanda, I haven't seen that yet this season.
Well, there was one angle, the first angle that we showed, that I thought it looked clear. The change up there thrown by Nyjah Kennedy to get that second strike. But the second angle that we showed, it looked like her foot was on the line and not as clear to me. So right here, well, that is a tough out of the box call. Looks like maybe just her pinky, if that, with the lines being undefined.
Second time through the order now for Maya Brady. Struck out swinging against Nyjah Kennedy in the first inning. 2 down and the bases clear, no score. Top 3 here in Palo Alto. Brady puts a charge into it, high and deep to left field, and on the warning track, it is caught by Kira. Years putting first-round draft picks into the NFL. UCLA and Stanford, and they have been just as impressive on the softball diamond. 2 of the Titans in the Pac-12, number 1 and number 2 respectively in the standings today, with UCLA having a slight edge over the Cardinal. River Mahler in the 8th spot, leads it off for Stanford here in the 3rd.
Caitlin Terry has done a nice job of settling in to this game. We mentioned that she just thrown 3 innings against Stanford, that Taylor Tinsley had gotten the bulk of the load. And now when you think about the UCLA pitching staff, it's really just those 2. Caitlin Terry, a freshman, and Taylor Tinsley, a sophomore, who had limited innings last year. As we're going to ring her up on, or excuse me, say that she went ahead on that chart. Let me start over here. But she went on her check swing. I got excited because I actually thought that that was a strikeout, but I'm going to say that she went around, second strike.
There's her strikeout.
There it is.
Second of the day for Caitlin Terry.
Just had a little feeling. She's been doing a good job with her rise ball up and in on the hands of the Stanford hitters.
Well, and Amanda, to your point, Caitlin Terry, a freshman, and Taylor Tinsley, a sophomore. And Kelly Anoy Perez was telling us in her 18 seasons as the head coach at UCLA, she can't ever remember a season not having either A, a super senior in the circle, or B, somebody who had Women's College World Series experience. But this year, that is what she has had, and that's been part of the adversity that the Bruins have overcome this season.
I was actually thinking about that before bed last night because
you're always thinking about softball.
Because I'm always thinking about softball. That like it hit her bat 2 times, so she's going to get called back. But I mean, when's the last time? And we had asked Kelly pregame, when's the last time that you've ever had a pitching staff with 0 Women's College World Series experience? And I don't know if maybe she had never thought of that before, but she's like, it's never happened. We've always had somebody anchoring the staff that has pitched in Oklahoma City, and always had that senior and also maybe a freshman that comes in with the youthfulness, but that freshman was able to learn from a senior or from a junior like Rachel Garcia or Megan Framo, with Taylor Tinsley being a freshman last year. Just young and pretty inexperienced.
A 1-2 to Caitlin Lim. Swing and a miss, and back-to-back strikeouts to start the 3rd for Caitlin Terry. Here's our Sunday Night Baseball matchup, the series finale between. And the base is clear for Taryn Kern. Second time through the order here for Stanford.
And notice, Matt, how just on top of the plate that Taryn Kern gets. Her toes are on the chalk and even seemingly almost pushing being over the chalk in that left-handed batter's box. Is that on-base percentage of over 500 because of the amount of walks that she draws and hit by pitches that she's had.
And it's been a different adjustment for her this year. Think about it. Last year in the Big Ten, Freshman of the Year, Player of the Year, hit .404 with 23 home runs, 65 RBI, Amanda. This year she's had to figure it out in different ways.
It was a really slow start to the season in comparison to what she did last year. And she transferred over. Of course, the book is out on her. And of course, I'm sure the expectations and pressure is high on her shoulders to do what she did last year. But even when she had a lower batting average in February to start the season, her on-base percentage was still over 500. And Coach Allister talked about Taryn Kern and just talked about how her maturity through all of it has just been tremendous.
Lays off the 2-2 and a full count, the first of the day for Caitlin Terry in the circle for UCLA.
Just think about too, Matt, going from playing in the Big Ten to then being still an underclassman thrown onto a team in the Pac-12 that has these big World Series expectations from what they did last year.
Flare shot gets over the glove of the second baseman, Seneca Curro, and a 2-out base hit for Taryn Kern.
It's a good adjustment by Taryn Kern to set the tone second time through. This pitch that she's going to end up getting a hit on is a pitch that they've struck out on several times, up and in on the hands, but she kind of fisted out towards the right side of the field, just out of the reach of Seneca Curro. Good 2-strike hit for Kern to give Stanford a little bit of life offensively.
Emily Jones, hard hit, bobbled momentarily, and not in time at the bag for Jordan Woolery.
To me, Emily Jones has had a breakout weekend, not just for Stanford, not just in the Pac, but nationally. Still remains safe.
So back-to-back 2-out singles for UCLA. Will pass the bat to the freshman, Ava Gall, in a big spot for Stanford. Remember, coming into the day, 1 for 21 with runners in scoring position in the series. They left 11 base runners on board in their Game 2 loss yesterday. And for Stanford, Amanda, even though the series has gone to UCLA already, winning the first 2 games, lots of implications, not just for Pac-12 regular season championship aspirations, but also an opportunity to pick up a top 15 win as they aspire to host a regional and a super en route to another trip to the Women's College World Series.
Well, I think that these are the moments that you have to come through and get the hit. They had opportunities early in Game 1 when they had Taylor Tinsley on the ropes with 2 runners in scoring position, and they had opportunities yesterday that they didn't come through, and a lot of left on base.
And she will go down on the inside corner, a major strikeout. As we are now joined by Jessica Allister, the head coach for the Stanford Cardinal. And Coach, appreciate your time. You know, this is a series that everyone has had circled, not just in the Pac-12, but nationally. I know Amanda and I have felt that way too. Excited to be here. Your thoughts just on how your team has responded to the moment this weekend?
Yeah, it's been awesome. You know, it's been a great atmosphere, sold out all weekend. It's been sold out for like a month. And I think, you know, we've gotten better. I think we had some nerves early on Friday. I thought we did some things really well, but you could feel it. You could feel a little bit of butterflies, which is a good thing. I think we're settling in a little bit. Now we just got to get a swing off when we get a ball in the zone.
Coach, after the year that Nyjah had last year with more people knowing her and expectations, what's it been like to coach her and watch her put in the work outside of the games?
Yeah, I think that's the piece that people don't see about Nyjah. You know, they see the product on the field. They see what she's doing in the circle. What they don't see is her preparation. They don't see her drive. They don't see her attention to detail. And the finished product doesn't come without a lot of work. And Nyjah's not scared of that work. And she's a pleasure to work with every day.
Coach, appreciate your time. Good luck the rest of the way.
Thank you.
Well, Nyjah Kennedy back in the circle for her second start of the weekend. And as we discussed earlier in the game, 12 strikeouts in a complete game on Friday night. Leads the nation not only in ERA, but also in strikeouts coming into the weekend.
And those strikeouts, too, are coming against a tough schedule that Stanford has played this year, as well as even going back to last year and watching her pitch against some of the best hitters in the country at the World Series.
Jadalyn Alchin, first pitch swinging over from short. It's Rivermeyer, one down.
I love that Coach Allister talked about Nyjah Kennedy and just how competitive she is and how good she is in the biggest moments. She said about Nyjah, she wants to face the biggest hitters in the biggest moments. And I think that you saw that when she broke out at the World Series last year.
A 1 count to Charlize Palacios. To your point, she wants the ball. She would pitch every game, Jessica Allister told us, if they would allow her to. Fly ball, center field, Emily Jones. 2 gone.
Well, and that's something
fourth.
that they've had to work on, is just overall managing her innings and managing her pitch count. Stanford and Tori Nyberg, their pitching coach, really monitor that. They put a lot of emphasis on monitoring her pitch count, not just in games, but also at practice and warm-ups. And they knew, too, that, you know, managing her is kind of a work in progress, because she did have Elena Vaughter last year, as well as Reagan Krause. And now Reagan Krause this year has taken a bigger role.
Megan Grant at the plate for UCLA, down to the count 0-1. Bases clear, still scoreless. You're in Palo Alto, game 3 of what has been a highly entertaining series. What a pitch by Nyjah Kennedy.
If I were Tori Nyberg and Nyjah Kennedy and Stanford, I would throw this pitch more. I know that they're throwing it 5% more than last year as a whole, and it's an improved pitch for her, but it is so good, I would throw it even more.
A little more speed on that one, and caught on a hop by Ava Gall. Athletic play by the freshman at first against Nyjah Kennedy. We want to put swings up there, even if it results in a strikeout. Put swings on the ball, and her team did. All 12 strikeouts were swinging, and they ended up winning the game 1-0 in 9 innings.
Yeah, I thought that their game plan and their at-bats against Nyjah on Friday night were some of the best that I've seen in preparation to hit off of Kennedy this year. You know, you asked her, too, about Caitlin Terry and the game that she's having. And Kelly has been involved more with the pitching staff this year. She's calling pitches and talked about how it's just been a journey to get to this point with this young pitching staff, but she's game calling, and the first weekend she actually wasn't. She actually likes to give the reins to her catcher to call pitches, and Charlize Palacios, the veteran.
Kaneshiro, a fly ball to center. Mayonio is there, 1 down.
But not only is she calling pitches, she's also catching the pitchers sometimes at practice, which I just couldn't get enough of, because she was a former catcher. She caught at UCLA, and she's not just going to be a pitching coach that is like in the bullpen, you know, giving some hints here and there. She wants to be back behind the plate, catching the pitchers, seeing what their stuff looks like, and also being able to give some tips from that position too, because oftentimes when you're catching and you're looking at it from a different angle, you're seeing things that you won't see from the side or back behind a pitcher, which is normally where a pitching coach stands. She is.
Former 3-time Women's College World Series champion as a catcher here at UCLA, and has been part of 8 national championships as a player, assistant coach, and head coach. I'd say if I was a player or a pitcher for UCLA and Kelly wants to hop in and catch, I'm game for that.
That's right. But it helps, you know, call pitches as well, because you can see the true spin, the true movement of the pitch out of the hand coming from the hip. You have such a different view, more like a hitter's view for what the pitch is looking like for all of her pitchers. So it's going to help her call pitches against hitters.
2-2 to Kira Chan, who grounded out to second base in her first at bat. Chan just 1 for 8 in the series, but batting a career best .318. The sophomore from San Diego, California. 2-2 from Terry. Is lined into right field, tailing foul and out of the reach of Megan Grant.
The lefties are doing a good job, which is essentially the entire Stanford lineup except for Ali Kaneshiro, but doing a better job the second time through of getting their barrels out in front to that inside pitch. Like they're a little bit behind on the backdoor curve and rise ball that Terry was throwing up and in on their hands. See if she mixes in more changeups because of that. Chan has been so good Pac-12 play this season.
Leading the team with an above 450 average at the plate against Pac-12 opponents. Waiting on the 2-2. 51st pitch of the day for Terry.
There's that changeup, and Stanford's trying to be a little bit quicker on that inner half, and so a curveball away from them, low and away, and also mixing in this changeup is going to be a great way to counter that moving forward. Beautiful changeup out of the hand of the freshman, perfectly placed and spotted. Chan just getting a little piece.
Chan rips it through the hole on the right side, and a one-out single for Kira Chan, her first base hit of the day. In college softball, and certainly that is what we have here this afternoon. Stanford and UCLA, the top two teams in the Pac-12. And Stanford just behind UCLA in win percentage. After the Bruins won the first two games of this series, the Cardinal actually picked to win the league for the first time in program history, coincidentally in the last year of the Pac-12. And with one out and a runner on, Kaylin Koch will come to the plate for the Cardinal, as Charlize Palacios wanted to come out and chat with Caitlin Terry.
They also brought her a rosin bag, too, from deep in the batting cages down in left field.
Pulling out all the stops for game 3. Upstairs for ball 1 to Koch. This game has major implications. Terry going back to the rosin bag, not just, of course, for Pac-12 regular season championship aspirations, but NCAA tournament seeding. Both teams have expressed to us coming into the weekend their desire to be in the top 8 at the end of the regular season and have an opportunity to host the Super Regional.
It's always a goal, especially for both of these teams. They're not just satisfied with a top 16 seed. You want to be in the top 8. I mean, this is just a few weeks away that we're talking about the bracket coming out, the selection show on your screens in the middle of May, and finding out who's going where. And it's the best time of year. A little bit of mayhem.
2-1 to Koch. A strike on the outside corner.
Stanford will be hosting the Pac-12 tournament this year, which is going to be right here on this field, the last one to ever be played.
Koch goes down swinging. 5th strikeout of the day for Caitlin Terry. For Jade Berry with a runner aboard and 2 outs. Stanford has struggled in this series with runners aboard. Coming into the day just 6 for 31, and remember they left 11 on base last night in their 9-3 loss.
They've only had 1 inning with the runner in scoring position, and that was back in the 3rd.
Snap throw again by Charlize Palacios. Second time we've seen that in this game. Just keeping an eye on the Stanford base runners.
Palacios just such a leader back behind the plate. One of the best catchers in the country, as well as Kaneshiro.
Well, we've talked so much about this young pitching staff. Kelly Inouye Perez told us that Charlize Palacios deserves a lot of credit for how she has handled the staff, handled the adversity, and led them to really their best pitching of the season when it matters most. Deep in a conference play, the 1-2 fought off by Chung.
Where she transferred over from Arizona. It was such a big get for UCLA, and her sister Sachelle was also a catcher at Arizona State, so the Pac-12 catching blood runs deep in the family. 3-time all Pac-12 player, so on the defensive team.
Chung goes down swinging. Back-to-back strikeouts by Kate. Impressive.
John Rittman was the head coach for so long here at Stanford and had them really just rocking on all cylinders, Super Regionals, World Series, and tons of Pac-12 wins. And then he left. There were a few kind of sparse years there for Stanford.
To think that just 7 years ago, this Stanford team, which, by the way, ranks in the top 10 right now, won 3 games in this league.
Yeah.
And then coming into this weekend, they hadn't lost a series.
Where she played here and loves being able to coach her alma mater. That happens actually a lot of times in the Pac-12. There are quite a few head coaches who played at their school, including, of course, Kelly Inoue Perez. Making it to the World Series last year for the first time in a while. Wanting to get back again this year.
It was their best season since 2009 when the Cardinal won 48 games. Last year, 47 and 15. 2-2 count to Jordan Woolery.
You look at Nyjah Kennedy in this game. So in the top of the 5th inning, just 3 strikeouts for UCLA's hitters, which you missed it at some point for the few times that we've mentioned it. She has averaged this year over 11 strikeouts a game.
Right on cue.
This one really got me.
Diving play at second base by Kern, and the former Big Ten Player of the Year makes the turn at second base. 2 down.
Let's go defense. Taryn Kern, any hit at this point, any runner that gets on this late in the game in a scoreless game just feels like it could be the winning run that gets aboard. So Taryn Kern laying out for this ball and making this diving play. I mean, that is just a thing of beauty. Last year's Big Ten Player of the Year doing it defensively.
And strike one to Tessa Malauulu. 2 down, bases clear. Really amazing what Nyjah Kennedy has become in the college softball world. Helped lead this team to the Women's College World Series a season ago. And as we referenced earlier, Jessica Allister, her head coach, knew that the responsibility would fall heavier on her shoulders this year. With some departures after last year's Women's College World Series team, she has risen to the occasion. Flare shot, center field, drops for a base hit. And a 2-out single by Tessa Malauulu to keep the inning alive for the Bruins.
Yeah, and Coach Allister said about Nyjah Kennedy that they first saw her in 7th grade. And saw her playing against 18-year-olds at that point, but continued to track her and followed her, and then also then found out that not only was she an exceptional pitcher and talent, but an exceptional student too. I mean, forget that coming here to Stanford is no easy task in the classroom, and it's very difficult to get in. Such a big get for Stanford and Coach Allister.
Fly ball, right field, in foul territory, and it drops.
That, how cute is that? The first pitches Kennedy has thrown of her career.
High fly ball, shallow center field. Emily Jones is there, and that ends the inning. So Kennedy pitches around the 2-out single, and no Amanda Scarborough.
And Shipman rivalry drama still in that one. So even though Kayla Bro is coaching at Alabama, the rivalry and the competitiveness continues on.
You're just stirring the pot, aren't you?
Just stirring.
Leading
I know
into that.
one, at least of them is watching. Probably Madison. Maybe Kayla's going to see this later.
River Mahler thought about a bunt attempt, pulled it back, but it's a strike and an 0-2 count for Caitlin Terry, who has 6 strikeouts in the game and has looked really good coming off that start yesterday in which she gave up a season-high 9 hits. And gets a strikeout of Mahler. 3 Ks in a row for KT, 1 down in the 5th. Well, this game's starting to look a lot like game 1. Went 9 innings of scoreless softball until UCLA broke free in the 9th. And no score here in game 3. Nigeri Kennedy throwing a gem for Stanford. And Caitlin Terry gives up a 1-out single to Caitlin Lim. So again, Amanda, Stanford with a runner aboard and less than 2 outs. We have seen that in 3 previous innings today. Can they capitalize against Caitlin Terry here in the 5th?
Yeah, there's just been that one inning that they've been able to put together back-to-back at-bats where a couple of runners in a row reach. And back in the 3rd when Taryn Kern had a single and then Emily Jones followed it up with another single. Ooh.
Time was called there at the last second by Taryn Kern. So the pitch will not count.
It did look like Taryn Kern. Actually, I don't know if she said it without motioning with her hand. Not really sure what happened there, but we're just going to go ahead and redo that one.
And that is strike 1 to Taryn Kern. You know, I guess the biggest difference, though, this inning compared to previous innings is that now there's a runner aboard and less than 2 outs for the top of the Stanford lineup. Taryn Kern, Emily Jones, and possibly Ava Gall. With the potential go-ahead run at first base, Stanford looking for its first win of the series against a UCLA team that Jessica Allister, the Stanford head coach, said should be in the top 10. There is no way this is not a top 10 team by the end of the 2024 season.
They'll definitely be up there after this weekend. They're at 11 right now, and it was one of those things where they started out pretty high and then they kind of crept down after that tough February that they had, even to the point where some of the top 25 rankings, I believe, didn't even have them ranked for a week, or at least ranked in the 20s, which never really feels like it happens with UCLA. And that's a tough part about playing there that we talked about with coaching Way Perez is you just play with this expectations. If you're winning, it never feels good enough. If you're losing, well, that's not good enough. Just kind of a lose-lose to play at UCLA with the pressure and the expectations of their history.
Well, you just saw a shot of the UCLA dugout as a walk is drawn by Taryn Kern, and now 2 on and just 1 out. In that dugout is the mental performance.
Her command has been on point.
Taking on Emily Jones here, who reached on an infield single back in the 3rd. And remember, that's when Stanford had 2 on and 2 out. They have 2 on and 1 out here with the go-ahead run in scoring position and an opportunity to break the scoreless tie in the 5th. 0-1 is ripped foul down the 3rd base line by Jones.
Tell you what, she is so tough to defend, Matt. Right now, the corners are playing up. They have to honor the fact that she could lay down a bunt and has a really good short game, but then also she can have more of a power slap like that. I mean, that just shot down the line. And then also she can keep her feet still this year. Something that she's worked on in the offseason is keep her feet still and have a little bit more power.
Jones rolls it to first base, and the tag made by Woolery. Lim moves up to 3rd, Kern to 2nd, and 2 down for the Cardinal.
Big out. Runners advance, so it's a productive out because now you have 2 runners in scoring position, but big to get an out there for Emily Jones, who's been so hot.
Ava Gall with 2 in scoring position. And before today in the series, her team just 1 for 21 at the plate with runners in scoring position. And a run on the catch by Janelle Maonio ends it in the 5th.
Moving the ball around. Used to seeing her with more strikeouts, but just something that she's had to go through here is just the approach that UCLA has probably made her feel a little bit uncomfortable in the box. Not as many swings and misses as she's used to, but being able in this game to be very efficient and use her defense. Only 53 pitches so far thrown for her because she's not going as deep into counts and getting just a lot of fly ball outs and ground ball outs to her defense.
One and one count to Janelle Maonio, who ended the last half inning with a beautiful catch in center field. Two. Backhanded at short. Mahler makes the play across the diamond in the stretch by Ava Gall. One down.
River Mailer.
High fly ball to center field by Maya Brady. 2 down, and the catch made by Emily Jones.
Again, so efficient by Nigeri Kennedy. 58 pitches just through the top of the 6th inning. I remember in game 1 when she went those 9 innings, she threw 138 pitches, had 12 strikeouts in that game. Both pitchers on Friday night, by the way, and just in general in this series, limited walks. Only had a few walks here and there. Pitching's been outstanding.
Jadalyn Alchin looks at strike 1. UCLA atop the conference standings coming into the day, followed closely by Stanford on a pop-up behind home and out of play. Stanford, of course, picked to win the Pac-12 for the first time in program history in the preseason. UCLA trailed them coming into the series, but with 2 wins in game 1 and game 2, jumping the Cardinal. And again, UCLA has had a handful of games rained out, so they haven't played as many games in league play as the Cardinal or many other counterparts, but leading on win percentage, which is what the league will use to determine the regular season conference champion.
I'm wondering really how that's going to play out. Sometimes I think it can help you, and sometimes I think it can hurt you to have some games rained out. But 3 conference games rained out for UCLA, which is just very unusual, including 2 at home last weekend against Cal, which I didn't even know that a rainout or, like any type of even weather delay was possible in Southern California, but apparently, it happened twice.
El Nino year is what we've heard.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
As a Midwestern guy, I don't know a whole lot about that. All I know is that UCLA has dealt with a lot of rain clouds. And Kelly Inoue Perez said at parts this season, it's felt like the clouds have just followed them wherever they've gone.
She even said, being in the sunshine here this weekend has just been unusual for them because they've been in clouds and rain so much that some of the players just getting a lot of sun, like getting a little sunburn here in Northern California.
2-2, and just catching a piece is Alchin. Out ahead of that off speed from Nigeri Kennedy, who, as Jessica Allister told us, has used the changeup more as her trump card this year. You referenced it, using it about 5% more this season compared to her freshman campaign. And on this 2-2, gets a strikeout, her 5th of the game. The most all-time of any team in this rich conference. And the title game of the Pac-12 tournament will be aired right here on ESPN2, May 11th, 10 p.m. Eastern Time. Could it be a rematch of this series we've had this weekend in Palo Alto?
I just can't believe it's coming to an end, and everything just gets all weird next year.
That's one way to put it.
Right?
Yeah.
To see all the history in this conference, I mean, the Pac-12 has the history of fast pitch softball. That the West Coast, California, that side of the country is pretty much where it all started. Have the national championships to prove it.
Kaneshiro, a fly ball to center and caught by Janelle Mayoño, 1 down. Well, we asked Kelly Inouye Perez about the end of the Pac-12. Of course, she's been part of 8 of UCLA's 12 Women's College World Series. And she said, you know, the saddest part for her is just the camaraderie that she's built with opposing coaches around the league. Now in her 18th season as the head coach at UCLA. So much respect between her and Jessica Allister. And of course, UCLA moving to the Big Ten, Stanford moving to the ACC. How much will we see these teams play each other going forward?
To set up some series played, or like I was even thinking, what about a tournament with Stanford, UCLA, and Arizona every year? Because they're all 3 going to be in different conferences.
Yeah.
So let's do a little tourney, a little pre-conference tourney. Get the gang back together.
I like where your head's at, Scarborough.
Yeah. You can do it now, and you're relatively close to each other instead of traveling across the country to go to Florida for a tournament, or and hopefully they still do come to the Clearwater Invitational Tournament. Want them there, of course, but need to get a different tournament on the West Coast, maybe.
0-2 to Chan, handcuffed, pops it foul behind home. Taylor Tinsley back in the circle for UCLA, has thrown 12 scoreless innings in the series. Pitched in both games 1 and game 2, and now relieving Caitlin Terry here in game 3. 0-2 count to Chan.
I mean, she's got to be National Pitcher of the Week at this point, right? Or at least a candidate, especially if she were to get the win here in this game. I think she'd be a shoo-in. Thinking Pac-12 Pitcher of the Week for sure. Possibly National Pitcher of the Week.
For 0-2. There's a swing and a miss. Chan goes down. The throw up to first in time by Charlize Palacios, 2 away. Two outs and the base is clear. Jana Schroeder pinch hitting for Kaylin Koch and rolls it to second base in time from Seneca Curro. 5 straight retires.
Special to watch this weekend. Not looked intimidated at all on the road.
And we start the 7th with the strike from Nigeri Kennedy to Charlize Palacios. Has homered in the series.
And it gets to a point, just like it did in game 1, where one hit, one pitch can win you the game. Could get UCLA a sweep, could get Stanford a win in this series. I mean, it can come down to just one pitch.
Saw it in game 1 against Nigeri Kennedy. 0-2 is upstairs for a ball.
And it's tough to hit a home run at this park. In fact, of all the Power 5 schools, this is the toughest, thanks to our friends at 643 Charts for running some numbers. This is the toughest place to hit a home run out of all the Power 5 schools. It's 205 down the lines, 8-foot walls, really deep alleys, and we've seen, I believe, at least 3, maybe 4 balls hit off the top of the wall that looked like maybe on another field, maybe even on UCLA's field for sure, could have gotten out of here.
Palacios goes down on the 2-2 and 6 strikeouts for Nigel Kennedy, 1 away.
Just looks so tempting, and she'll continue to throw this rise ball over and over and over again. And even late in the game, even the 7th and 8th time you faced her, it's still so tempting to chase that pitch, that rise ball, the best in the country.
And a first pitch strike to Megan Grant. You know, to your point about the difficulty of hitting home runs here, the walls around the outfield are 8 feet tall, which is quite tall compared to most of the rest of the country.
Well, and Megan Grant made an adjustment with her hands as well as a barrel a little bit higher, just in anticipation to try to stay on top of the rise ball. And to me, this is something that Megan Grant, I said this earlier in this game, but she has been locked in. She's barreled up several pitches, several rise balls up in the zone out of the hand of Kennedy, but adjusting even from last weekend, where she's starting with her hands in her stance.
5 for 10 in the series at the plate as Megan Grant, with a pair of doubles, has doubled here in game 3 against Kennedy.
That's always the goal against Kennedy, is trying to get your barrel above her rise ball, even trying to swing to where you think is about a ball or 2 balls above where that rise ball looks like it's coming at you. And that's why you'll see Kennedy expand the zone like that with 2 strikes, trying to get you to chase. But Megan Grant has applied the game plan perfectly against Kennedy.
Payoff pitch. And a walk with 1 out drawn by Megan Grant, her 2nd time aboard today in Detroit. Woolery puts a charge into this deep center field and caught at the wall. No, it's gone. A home run by UCLA's Jordan Woolery, and a 2-0 lead for the Bruins.
Last year, Megan Grant and Jordan Woolery were freshmen that burst onto the scene offensively and were a big chunk of the power in UCLA's lineup. And this year, they hit back-to-back, and they're doing it again. Megan Grant drew that walk, put together such a good at-bat where she did not chase Nigel Kennedy's rise ball, and that gave Jordan Woolery, I guarantee, a little extra confidence to be able to go up and hit the first pitch that she saw.
UCLA in the driver's seat to potentially sweep the series against Stanford now. Base is clear for Taylor Stevens. And remember, Stanford had not lost a series coming into the weekend. And what a shot by Jordan Woolery.
The first pitch that she sees up in the zone, but she is able to get on plane with it. These UCLA hitters, I'm telling you, their at-bats against Nigel Kennedy have looked so prepared to get on top of that pitch up in the zone. And Kelly Noe Perez told us that they prepped for Nigel all week long. They moved the machines up. They were doing different drills, anticipating not only her speed, but that rise ball more up in the zone.
Well, now an out has been called at home plate by the home plate umpire, Jim Bertuzzi. And I didn't see what happened, and it looks like Taylor Stevens is perplexed as well.
I think it's going to be a timing violation and 20-second pitch clock, and that is a strike. A strikeout.
So 2 down now for Tessa Malauulu. Sends this into left field. Kira Chan is there, and that ends the inning. Stanford's last chance in the bottom of the 7th. Back in the circle for the Bruins. And the first pitch to Jade Berry is outside for a ball.
UCLA has just come in here ready to make some noise. They have been focused since the first at-bat against Nigel Kennedy back on Friday in game 1. They played together like a team. It's been really interesting. Watch them come together since February. The team that we saw in February is a complete 180 from the team that we're seeing this weekend.
bit healthier. That has helped.
Helps.
And just going through it, in the words of Kelly Inoue Perez, the resilience has helped this team build a tighter bond. Sort of an us against everybody mentality, because for a while there in the beginning, it did feel like that for UCLA with all the chatter around the program about their slower than usual start. 7-5 in the month of February. They lost just 7 games all of last year, and that is a strikeout of Jade Barrett. What certainly has been a roller coaster season for UCLA. Not the start they anticipated, but they have rebounded in a big way. Amanda, you've talked about it, what they've been able to do in league play, completely flipping their season on its head.
Well, I think that they've just been kind of quietly hidden in California, not a lot of nationally televised games, and just chipping away, just putting in the work, while everybody else was thinking that maybe the team that we saw in February was the same team they are now, and that is just not the case.
Armando Gonzalez, this team's mental performance coach, looking on in the dugout with the rest of the Bruins team. Was brought to this series. Will follow the team around maybe once every 6 weeks or so, he told us, but he said he didn't even need to deliver a message to the room on Friday night before the first game of the series. They were dialed in. On a fly ball to left and caught. 2 down in the 7th, and UCLA 1 out away from a sweep of what had been the top team in the Pac-12 entering the weekend.
And so much credit to Taylor Tinsley. The way that she set the tone in the circle in game 1 just applied all throughout the rest of the team, as well as Maya Brady, the leadoff hitter for UCLA, and the at-bat that she put together in inning number 1 against Kennedy. The pressure has been on Kennedy all weekend long, uncomfortable at-bats that they put together. And here's the thing is, this series is just going to make both teams better. Stanford, even if they don't go on to mount a comeback and tie up or win this game, the series will make them better. For UCLA, this series will make them better moving forward.
And firm up their RPI, possibly a top 10 ranking coming off the weekend. And then, of course, will shore up being the top dog in the Pac-12.
Like they've been so many times. It's the norm for UCLA to see them up at the top of the Pac-12 standings. And you saw Stanford there until this weekend, and UCLA just making a big statement this weekend here.
2-1 to Caitlin Lim. Pop up left side of the infield. Tessa Malau-Ulu puts it away, and UCLA sweeps a top 10.